The story begins with our protagonist, Amane, walking on a rainy night when he encounters Sheena, a blonde girl sitting on a park swing. He approaches her and, upon speaking with her, offers her his umbrella. The girl is surprised and thanks him. The next day in class, Amane is sick because he lent his umbrella to the girl he found in the park. She appears in class, apparently the most popular girl in school, often referred to as the angel of the school. When Amane arrives at his apartment, he finds Sheena there, wanting to return his umbrella. Amane takes it, but as he tries to enter his apartment, he feels weak. Sheena decides to help him, despite his reluctance. Amane falls asleep and upon waking up, he sees Sheena by his side. She tells him to check his temperature and eat a bit of the food she cooked. He's surprised by how delicious the food is. After eating, he asks her why she was sitting in the park. Sheena reveals that she wasn't in a fight with her boyfriend, getting a bit irritated, and emphasizes that she doesn't have nor want a boyfriend. The next day, Amane, recovered from his fever, talks to his friend Atsuki about how popular and unattainable Sheena seems to be for them. As night falls, Sheena prepares dinner for Amane, who used to eat only jelly. He's surprised once again by the deliciousness of the food, and this continues for several days as Sheena keeps delivering boxes of food to him. One day, Amane encounters Sheena in a market and helps her buy some things and carry the bags. On another day, Sheena rings Amane's doorbell to collect the food box, and he stumbles, saying he was cleaning. Seeing his apartment still messy, she decides to help him clean. They clean the apartment, but during a mishap, they both fall to the ground. The room is still quite dirty, and it takes them a whole day to clean. Amane invites Sheena to stay and have pizza he ordered. After eating, he asks her why she shares her dinner with him. She reveals it's for personal satisfaction, that she doesn't like what Amane usually eats, and she enjoys making food for others. She bids farewell, thus beginning this story. In a sunset, Amane finds Sheena sitting. They talk, and then Amane leaves to get some things. When he returns, he brings supplies to treat a wound since she had injured her ankle. After attending to her, he helps her to his apartment. The next day, his friend Atsuki teases him for wearing shorts because he forgot his own pants. Here, we're introduced to Katawaki, who is highly admired by the girls, even being called the class prince, due to being the most popular guy. As night falls, Sheena delivers dinner to Amane, and they chat about Katawaki and the idea of sharing so that Sheena can cook at Amane's apartment. She warns him that if he tries anything, she'll burst him without hesitation. The following day, Amane and Sheena agree that for her to cook at his apartment, he'll pay half the ingredients and assist Sheena with some of the work. That night, she prepares a dinner that Amane enjoys. One day, after exams in class, Amane talks with Atsuki, and his girlfriend Chitose shows up. They discuss the possibility of Amane getting a girlfriend. As night falls, Sheena has already prepared dinner for Amane, and when she's about to leave, she drops her student ID. Amane returns it and realizes Sheena's birthday is in 4 days, making him nervous. Amane asks her for something she wants, and Sheena answers that she'd like a knife sharpener. He seeks help from Atsuki, who suggests hand cream, and finally asks Chitose for shopping help, squeezing in a request for her to buy him some sweets. Sheena's birthday night arrives, and she's sitting on her couch. Amane sits next to her to give her the gift. She's surprised as she hadn't told him about her birthday. He explains that he saw the date on her student ID that she dropped. She opens the gift to find a box containing the hand cream that Atsuki recommended. She likes it and notices there's something else in the bag. Amane had added a teddy bear at the last moment, something Sheena loves. She promises to take care of it. Amane recalls Atsuki saying it's normal to touch your girlfriend. He attempts it but hesitates. Sheena explains she doesn't like receiving gifts from strangers, no matter how popular they are. She doesn't consider Amane a stranger anymore and thanks him for the gifts. The day starts with someone knocking on Amane's door. When he opens it, he finds his mother, Shihoko, there. Amane tries to make her leave, but she enters, using the excuse that she pays his rent. She enters his room and discovers Sheena, who was sleeping on the floor. Amane's mother mistakes Sheena for his girlfriend, but he tries to explain that it's not the case. When Sheena wakes up, Shihoko bombards her with questions and assumes she's Amane's girlfriend. Sheena tries to explain, but it's futile. Eventually, Amane manages to get his mother to leave. Sheena tells Amane that it's the first time someone has called her by her name. Amane introduces himself, and they both promise not to reveal each other's names in public, making it their secret. The next day, the school announces the grades. Amane is ranked 21st, while Sheena, as the other girls speculate, is once again at the top with the highest score. The girls believe she has a different brain when, in fact, she just works hard. At night, Sheena discovers a cake in the fridge. Amane explains it's to celebrate her top rank. Sheena tries the cake and is surprised by how delicious it is. Seeing Amane staring at her, she offers him some, and they both eat it nervously. Even though it's tasty, the awkwardness remains. The following day, Chitose asks Amane if he'll be celebrating Christmas, to which he initially says no. Atsuki convinces him to celebrate Christmas at his apartment with dinner. Amane asks Sheena if she has any plans for Christmas, and she replies that she doesn't and that she turned down several guys who invited her. He informs her that Atsuki and his girlfriend will be spending Christmas with him. He also tells her that he'd like to spend Christmas with her, to which she agrees, expressing a desire to spend time playing video games with him. The next afternoon, Atsuki, his girlfriend, and Amane are discussing the room's transformation from messy to clean. Suddenly, it starts snowing, surprising them. They go out to the balcony and are even more astonished to find Sheena there as well. Sheena enters Amane's apartment and meets Atsuki and his girlfriend Chitose. Chitose compliments Sheena's beauty and mentions it's the first time she's seen her up close. They chat for a while until Atsuki and Chitose have to leave. Sheena goes to get dinner for Amane and they talk about the dish she taught Sheena to cook, how each plate tasted like happiness. Amane tells her that her cooking also brings happiness. They discuss their plan to have lunch and play games the next day. The following afternoon, Sheena tries playing a console game, and it's clear she's not good at it. Amane tries to help her improve. Later, they play a racing game where Sheena moves so much that her head ends up on Amane's lap. He finds it adorable and advises her that she doesn't need to move like that. After a while, Sheena manages to get first place in the racing game. As a celebration, Amane gives her a gift, a keychain, as he had given her a key to his apartment before, allowing her to enter whenever she wanted. Sheena talks about her likes and her attractive features. She lifts Amane's bangs and is surprised. Amane does the same in response, and they both gaze at each other for a while. Sheena also brings a gift for Amane, a scarf, which he appreciates. Amane expresses how kind Sheena has become and tells her how adorable she is when she smiles. She covers his face with the scarf and goes to the balcony, embarrassed. Amane follows, and after a while, they express gratitude for the months they've spent together. The next day, Sheena has a fever and tries to hide it, but Amane notices and tells her to lie down. Despite her resistance, he carries her to his room. They talk for a while before sleep. Amane wakes up and checks on Sheena, who says she's still a bit dizzy. They talk about having breakfast, and during the meal, they discuss the maid Koyuki and how she used to take care of them. Amane stays to chat until Sheena falls asleep. When she decides to sleep, Amane stays by her side, holding her hand. One night, Amane and Sheena are waiting for the New Year's bell to ring. Amane receives messages from Atsuki and his mother asking if he's with Sheena, as well as a message from his father telling him to come to his apartment the day after tomorrow. Amane tries to tell Sheena, but she falls asleep with her head on his arm. He tries to wake her up but fails and wonders what to do. He decides to carry her to his bed and sleep on the sofa. The next day, Amane checks if Sheena has woken up, but she's still sleeping. He gently strokes her face, and she wakes up, revealing that she was pretending to sleep. On the day of the visit, Amane's parents, his mother Shihoko and his father Shuto, arrive. Shuto recognizes Sheena. They chat for a while, and Shihoko asks if they've made their first shrine visit. She brings a kimono for Sheena to wear at the shrine. Amane doesn't want to go, but his mother convinces him. Later, Amane gets ready and talks to his father about Atsuki and whether he enjoys being with Sheena. Sheena comes out wearing the kimono, and Amane is surprised and struggles to find words. Eventually, he compliments her appearance, and she responds that he also looks quite handsome. They spend time at the shrine praying and sharing drinks. Amane asks why she prayed so much and what she wished for. She answers that she wished for joy, health, and peaceful days like this. When they get back home, they chat some more, and Amane gently strokes Sheena's hair. She's surprised but lets him do it, and as she leaves, she playfully calls him, Bobo, fool. The next day, Amane's parents bid farewell as they need to work, but they tell him to visit them in the summer. In class, rumors circulate that Sheena has a boyfriend and that they were holding hands at the shrine. Amane ignores the rumors, and Atsuki playfully lifts his bangs. Amane tells Sheena about the rumors, and she reveals that she told everyone he's just an acquaintance. Amane can't picture having her as his girlfriend, and she tells him not to be so hard on himself. He blushes and says he'll go wash the dishes, causing Sheena to become extremely embarrassed and cover herself with a pillow. One day, Chitose asks Amane for help regarding what to give Atsuki on Valentine's Day. She usually gives him chocolates, but this time, she wants to do something special. Amane suggests asking Sheena for help, and Sheena also plans to surprise Amane with sweets. On Valentine's Day, all the girls give gifts to Katawaki, and everyone looks at him angrily due to his popularity. Amane talks to Atsuki, who reveals that Chitose has prepared a chocolate Russian roulette for him. When she arrives, she gives it to Amane. After everyone leaves, Amane sees Katawaki with numerous gifts, and Katawaki hands him a bag to help carry everything. Amane tries one of the sweets, which turns out to be too spicy. Sheena offers him a cup of hot chocolate, and they chat for a while. Suddenly, Sheena becomes very nervous and rushes out. Amane follows her and notices that she left a gift at his door, perfectly fitting snacks for him since they weren't overly sweet. The next day, Katawaki thanks Amane for his assistance. At home, Amane expresses his gratitude to Sheena for the snacks and asks her what she would like as a gift. She doesn't want a gift, as she made the snacks without expecting anything in return. She becomes annoyed when she learns that Amane hadn't mentioned his birthday earlier and assures him that she'll celebrate it this year. Amane searches for a White Day gift for Sheena, and the store owner recommends the usual choices. When he arrives home, Sheena is surprised to see Amane dressed up. He gives her the gift, a flower necklace, and it comes with a voucher made by him, offering to do anything for her. She wants Amane to put the necklace on her, and he notices her beautiful smile. The next day, Amane and Atsuki eat potatoes at a local eatery and discuss the gift Amane gave Sheena. Despite consistently denying their relationship, Amane can't stop thinking about Sheena's smile. When he arrives home, Sheena invites him to dinner, despite him having already eaten potatoes. Amane notices that she's not wearing the necklace, and she explains that it's uncomfortable while doing chores. She promises to wear it when she's free and mentions that she loves the gifts Amane gives her. Nervously, Amane goes to change, and as he enters his room, he lays on the floor, reflecting on how Sheena behaves like a true wife. The day begins with Atsuki bringing a bag of clothes to Amane. He explains that he had a fight with his father and asks if he can stay at Amane's apartment for a few days. Amane agrees since it's spring break, and there's no issue with him staying over. Atsuki spends an entire day at Amane's place, eating dinner and talking together. Eventually, Chitose talks to Amane, asking if she can come over since she wants to taste the food prepared by Sheena. She then talks to Sheena, who quickly arrives at the apartment. During dinner, everyone compliments Sheena's cooking. Chitose mentions how formal Sheena is and how she seems distant from others at school due to being in different classes. However, she finds Sheena's adorable expressions endearing. After dinner, Amane receives a message from Chitose with a picture of Sheena holding the teddy bear Amane had given her, saying she looks beautiful. Amane is surprised, and Atsuki takes a picture of him to send to Chitose. The next day, Atsuki and Chitose's visit ends. Later, Amane brings up the topic of the photo Chitose sent him with the teddy bear. He mentions how Sheena takes great care of it and even sleeps with it. Sheena becomes embarrassed and tells Amane to forget about it or else she'll reveal something embarrassing about him. They ultimately drop the subject. Sheena receives a surprising message but chooses not to tell Amane. The following day, Amane heads straight to his apartment and encounters a woman arguing with Sheena. After she leaves, Sheena explains that the woman is her mother, Seo Sheena, and that her mother has always hated her. Amane holds Sheena's hand and tells her to stay with him, to which she agrees. In the apartment, Sheena shares her story. Her parents never wanted her as they married for the family's benefits and had her by accident. She was raised by a maid, and her parents only provided money despite not wanting her. She excelled in everything, but her parents never paid attention. They only want her to finish university so they can forget about her. Sheena explains that's why she was sad on the swing, she had given up. Amane consoles her, encouraging her to cry because if she keeps holding back, she'll drown. Sheena leans on Amane's shoulder and cries. She thanks him and wants to lean on him again. She asks what she should do since everyone wants to be with her only because she's the angel of the class. She calls herself a coward and selfish, saying no one truly likes her. Amane responds that he really likes her and praises her. However, he gets nervous and mentions that Atsuki, Chitose, and her parents all think the same. He talks about how special she is and that everyone sees it. Later, Sheena suggests going out, and when they do, she hugs Amane, thanking him for everything and asking him never to stop looking at her. They then see a cherry blossom tree, and Sheena explains that she used to dislike them because they reminded her of her loneliness. But now, with Amane, she's starting to like them a bit more. The day begins with the start of the new school year, and Amane is in the same class as Atsuki, Chitose, and Sheena. Katawaki approaches Amane to greet him and express his excitement about being in the same class. This triggers a memory in Amane, but he ultimately greets Katawaki. At home, Amane talks to Sheena, and she asks him to lie down with his head on her lap so she can play with his hair. They talk for a while, and Amane falls asleep. When he wakes up, Sheena tells him only an hour has passed and that he looks cute when he's asleep. Amane responds, and Sheena pinches his cheeks. The next day, Amane plays at some prize machines and shows Sheena what he won when he returns home. He won several stuffed animals, and Sheena becomes fond of a rabbit plush. Amane looks at her, and she gets nervous, asking him to stop staring since she looks like a child. Then, Sheena tells Amane she wants to give him a gift, and he requests a custard prepared with many eggs. Sheena says she'll make it for him the next day and goes to the store to buy lots of eggs. When she gives him the custard, as usual, she tells him it's very good. Amane continues to compliment her, making her nervous, and she quickly goes to wash the cup where the custard was. Amane insists he'll wash it, and she rushes to the sofa. One day, Katawaki invites Amane and Atsuki to have lunch together, wanting to get to know Amane better. They agree, and at home, Amane notices Sheena is upset. She tells him that it bothers her a little that Katawaki can freely talk to him while she has to avoid it. She suggests taking things slowly to avoid suspicion from others. The next day, the class has to form groups, and Sheena asks Amane to be in her group. After class, they talk with Atsuki and Chitose and tease Amane a bit for not being a good cook. Another day in cooking class, while the group prepares a meal, Sheena and Amane go to the fridge to get something. While walking, some guys accidentally bump into a girl, causing her to spill hot mixture towards Sheena. Amane quickly pushes her to prevent her from getting burned. At home, Amane talks to Sheena, telling her he wouldn't leave a friend alone. He caresses her hair, and she gets angry, hitting him with a pillow several times. Eventually, she rests her head on his arm, telling him to stop being silly. Amane asks her what she wants him to do, and she asks him to caress her hair again. The day begins with Amane talking about the Golden Week and the return to vacations. Sheena tells him she doesn't know what to do since she'll only be teaching Chitose how to cook, and she'll have the rest of the days free. So, she decides to use the ticket Amane gave her to have a day dedicated to her during Golden Week. They plan to go to a cat cafe, do some shopping, and visit a video game arcade. Sheena teaches Chitose how to cook breakfast, and Amane warns her to make something edible. Amane falls asleep while they're cooking, and when he wakes up, he finds Sheena by his side and realizes he had been leaning on her. He gets flustered, but Sheena reassures him that she didn't do anything wrong. Before they eat, Amane jokingly asks Sheena if the food is edible, and she confirms it. They enjoy the meal, and when Chitose leaves, Sheena apologizes to Amane for touching his cheeks and hair while he was sleeping. Amane doesn't mind and returns the gesture by caressing Sheena's cheeks. They plan for the next day's outing. The next day, Amane and Sheena go out together. They start by visiting a cat cafe where Sheena encounters a cat named Fluffball. The cat approaches her but then leaves. Later, she's served a cat-shaped coffee, and although she hesitates to drink it at first, she eventually does. Another cat jumps on Sheena's lap, reminding Amane of a cat named Fluffball. They continue their outing by going shopping, and Amane suggests Sheena try on a dress. While she's trying it on, some girls ask him to walk with them, but he declines, saying he's waiting for someone. Sheena appears, and they leave together. They end their day at a game arcade, where Sheena wins a cat plushie. She wants to give it to Amane because it reminds her of Fluffball. Katawaki shows up, they have a short conversation, and Sheena asks him not to tell anyone about their good relationship. The following day, Amane talks with Katawaki and Atsuki. He shares that Sheena prepares dinner for him every day. Amane gets frustrated and tries to explain, but Katawaki asks him if Sheena really likes him. When Amane returns home, he confronts Sheena and asks her what she's hiding. It turns out she was talking to Amane's mother and received some childhood photos of him. Amane wants to see them, but Sheena resists. In a clumsy attempt to grab the phone, they accidentally stumble, and Amane ends up on top of Sheena. They lock eyes for a moment, and Amane pinches her cheek lightly before taking the phone to view the images, reflecting on how close he was to doing something foolish. The day begins with Amane talking to Sheena about Mother's Day. Amane plans to give his mother flowers as it's the only thing he can do from a distance. Sheena wonders how he ended up living alone, and after persistent questioning, Amane explains that his parents used to support him financially, but his so-called friends at school only used him for his money. That's why he decided to move to a place where no one knew him. Sheena consoles him, allowing him to lean on her shoulder. They continue talking for a while, and when Sheena gets up, Amane hugs her, saying that they're both selfish and that he still has a long way to go in understanding his own selfishness. In class, Sheena is asked if she's dating someone, and she replies that he's a friend she values the most. At home, Amane mentions that he's been exercising, and Sheena tells him that she'll pamper him if he's tired, but only if he caresses her hair. Amane then dreams of Sheena getting into bed with him, which startles him awake. In class, Chitose notices that Amane doesn't seem well, and he explains that he's been exercising. When he returns home, he tells Sheena about his dream, and she wants more details, but he refuses and turns away in embarrassment. The upcoming exams are announced in class, and Amane is determined to do well to achieve a higher rank this time. He tells Sheena that Atsuki and Katawaki will come over to study, and Sheena invites Chitose as well. Sheena motivates Amane, promising to do whatever he wants if he manages to rank in the top 10. He asks only to lie in her lap again, and she agrees. The three friends gather at Amane's place to study. Sheena teaches Chitose everything, while Atsuki playfully teases Amane before they urge him to focus. After lunch, they continue studying and eventually leave for the day. In the evening, Amane asks Sheena if she's afraid of losing sight of him, and she nods, saying that she loves taking care of him. She then gets closer and places her finger on Amane's lips, expressing her willingness to pamper him. They gaze at each other for a long time. In class, the exam scores are posted, and Amane ranks 6th. Sheena congratulates him and suggests he deserves a treat. Amane notices that Sheena once again secured the top spot and insists she deserves the treat more. At home, Amane asks if she wants a gift or him to do something for her. Sheena asks for his help in the kitchen. Later, she fulfills her promise to pamper him. Initially hesitant, Amane lies down on her lap for her to clean his ears. Sheena caresses his hair and mentions how well behaved he is today, confessing that she often wants to pet him. Amane falls asleep, and when he wakes up, he finds that Sheena has fallen asleep too. He carries her back to her apartment, places her in bed, and puts the teddy bear beside her. The following day, Sheena asks Amane for his key and mentions a framed photo on his desk. He hadn't noticed it as he didn't want to pry, and she explains that she wanted him to sleep with her. She becomes embarrassed and clarifies it was a misunderstanding. The day after, Amane arrives home to find Sheena in her summer uniform without stockings, which makes him nervous. He asks her to put on stockings, and while she initially wanted to show her legs to Amane, she complies and puts them on. In class, Atsuki and Chitose leave for a date. Katawaki asks Amane to walk with him, and they encounter Sheena, who's carrying the sports day schedule. She asks them to help her fasten the buttons, and they agree. Back home, Amane discusses how Sheena's behavior differs between their private interactions and her classroom persona. He tells her that her true self is more adorable than the angel image she projects at school. She responds that it's enough and expresses her desire to change. They talk about their promise to keep looking at each other, and Sheena compliments Amane, describing him as charming and attractive. He blushes, and she holds his face, expressing how special he is to her. Sheena continues to praise Amane, and he playfully covers her mouth and tells her to be quiet without using his hands. As she pulls away, she kisses him on the cheek and quickly leaves the room. In class, Sheena talks with Chitose, and when Amane arrives, he greets everyone except Sheena. Atsuki asks if they're having a fight, but Amane replies that it's just a misunderstanding. Amane talks about what he did that day, and Sheena apologizes, explaining that she wanted to get back at him in some way. The next day at school, she discusses the upcoming sports day and how Atsuki and Chitose ended up in different teams. Back home, Amane talks to Sheena about the sports day and how they'll be in the same team. They sit on the sofa, and he takes a spoonful of ice cream, but then he gives it to Sheena. When he realizes he's getting closer to her, he hands her the ice cream and goes to make coffee. Sports day begins, and Amane chats with Katawaki about Chitose and how she was the best athlete in middle school. Amane participates in the treasure hunt event and grabs a card. Sheena tells him she's looking for the same thing, so they run together toward the finish line. Arriving at the finish line together, Chitose reveals what the cards say. Amane's card says, "A beautiful girl," and Sheena's card says, "A boy she likes," which surprises everyone. Back in the classroom, the boys ask Amane why he would date Sheena, and when they turn to her, they ask why she's with Amane since he's boring. Sheena defends Amane, saying that he's an interesting and kind guy. The boys leave, and Sheena suggests they have lunch. Later, at home, Amane contemplates expressing his feelings to Sheena. She apologizes for the guys bombarding him with questions at school. He apologizes for being cowardly and not opening up about his feelings. He admits that she's the person he values the most and that he never intended to fall in love after his past experiences. He asks if she wants to be with him, and she nods. They hug, and Amane assures her that he'll make her happy and take care of her forever, leaving them embracing each other.